And we're live on a Sunday night stream, everybody. Welcome to the J area. My name is Ramos Jr. And obviously, when it comes to accustomed to these live streams, you guys know the deal. It's the end of the year, the end of 2024. So what better way to cap off the year than to recognize, than to reflect, and look back on the year that is 2024. Professional wrestling hit a huge boom in the year 2024, whether it was WWE, AEW, TNA, wrestling. A lot to look forward to in terms of the future of professional wrestling. But obviously, if you are new to the channel and new to the live streams, this is our live stream where we talk about the very best of 2024. Here in the J area, we talk about all things pro wrestling, but we are a little bit more primarily talking about WWE. So for the purpose of these live streams, we've been doing the J area awards, mostly the WWE. Hopefully in the future, like next year, we'll be able to branch it out to other promotions so long as the community continues to grow and our tastes begin to expand as well. So we've had other live streams that would include Rivalry of the Year, Women's Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year. We recently had the Breakout Star for both the men and women as well. But tonight's live stream will be deciding who is or who was a part of the WWE's Match of the Year in 2024. A lot of options to look forward to. I thought the WWE, in terms of a product, had a great year, not only in terms of the in-ring action, but also what had taken place in stories. And what would a great match be without a good story? I mean, you can have a great matchup, a solid matchup with anyone, right? You have two of the very best in the ring. They are willing to put on a great show. But when we look at wrestling matches, I feel like a lot of times we got to have some sort of investment, some sort of story, and the matches that have been in consideration for Match of the Year are no shortage of some great storytelling. You've seen the thumbnail. You've seen some of the options that we have here that I think should be in consideration for Match of the Year. But we want to open it up to you guys. As you know, for these live streams, when it comes to the J Area Awards, we open up the first half to the public to have a little bit of a discussion, a little bit of a discourse as to who we think is worthy enough to be in consideration for this distinction. And then following that period of time, we open it up to the public in terms of a voting poll. We give you guys the power. We give you guys the voice to determine who exactly should be in the Match of the Year, at least for the WWE's sake. So we're going to give a little bit of opportunity here, give everyone a chance to settle in and come into the live stream and start voicing in their opinions. Like I said, don't be shy. Go ahead and comment in the chat on who were some of your favorite matches, some that deserved a distinction, and others that maybe aren't really talked about enough. If you guys are new to the chat, new to the live stream, my name is Ramos Jr. This is the J Area live stream where we talk pro wrestling. You see, I've always been a fan of pro wrestling. I started watching when I was about 2 years old. You know, and I know some people are going to say, well, how do you remember? Well, granted, I don't, right? My memory goes far as back to maybe 5 years old. Because I remember guys like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. This was 2003, by the way, where we had those guys on SmackDown. The Undertaker was on SmackDown. Kurt Angle was rocking the singlet still. But at 2 years old, you know, I was watching guys like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And since then, I haven't really been able to let it go. I've always been a fan. I've always stuck with it. There was a time being there in my teenage years where we kind of started to deviate. I was getting more into basketball, more into football. Wasn't really following it as much. I still had, you know, my finger on the pulse, so I knew what was going on. But I would say there were some times that I was kind of falling out of it. I mean, 2011 and 2010 was kind of a slow year for me. Guys like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan brought me back in. But the purpose of this channel, if you're a new viewer, and I'm hoping that you're a new viewer that is looking to stay, right? Welcome, join the family, join the fun. This is a pro wrestling channel by a professional wrestling fan for other fans as well. I've always said, when it comes to these live streams, when it comes to the videos, hey, this is as much your channel as it is mine. I'm just moderating. I just help put out the content. But at the end of the day, you guys are the driving force. You guys are the ones that help determine what we're going to talk about. And that's why with today's video, today's live stream, we're talking about who should be in consideration for the Match of the Year. WWE had a solid year, had a banner year. We talk about some of the great years in WWE history. I think the last really good one was maybe 2002, 2000 was a great year in terms of business, not only in terms of ring quality, star quality, pay-per-view, buy, always a great time to talk about pro wrestling when it comes to all three of those components, right? Muhammad, welcome to the chat. Great to see you here. Appreciate you here on a Sunday night. It is a live stream. Muhammad says it's a Sunday night. It's nighttime. Jose Ramos Jr. I hope you're doing well, man, and your family and life. That goes to everyone who is currently here. Big shout out to Muhammad. If you're here in the chat, make sure you say hello to Muhammad and send them the same positive energy that they always bring in. Appreciate you stopping by, of course, and taking time out of your night, taking time out of your day to join us here in the live stream. We're talking, of course, match of the year. I'm going to throw out one of my suggestions. I think Big Neff Network, welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. Another one of our long-term viewers here. Appreciate you, Network. We're talking match of the year. And you've seen the thumbnail, so you would know that I think well, hold on here. Muhammad, quick question that I have for you, if you don't mind me asking. Go right ahead. Shoot. That's why it's there. I love it. I prefer the questions. Don't be afraid to go ahead and comment down in the chat any type of comment, any type of question, so long as we're respectful, right? I mean, that's the golden rule. No such thing as a dumb question either. I've had some people say like, oh, it might be a dumb question. No, there's no dumb questions. There's no dumb questions. We welcome them all. Like I said, here on the channel, we welcome all fans. You know, new fans, young fans, fans that have been here for 30 years, some that are new and they've just been watching for 30 days. Women, children, men, doesn't matter. The point is the J Area is an all-inclusive club. We want to have everybody as much a part of the conversation, a part of the community to help grow a positive professional wrestling community, because lately on the internet, it's kind of negative. It's kind of toxic. You know, I see a comment here from Muhammad. How can I watch AEW World's End again? I missed the first half of it. So when I watch the pay-per-views, I go through YouTube. On their YouTube channel, they offer it. I believe it's like $49.99, and that's not counting tax. So I go through YouTube, and as far as I know, it's still available on YouTube. I'm not sure if, you know, you said you watched the first half. Where were you watching it from? That's the question now. Because depending where you were watching it, they should be able to provide you like a replay of it. I know you get like a certain time frame of when you're able to access a pay-per-view. For example, Muhammad says, I mean the screen. The screen was lagging and it was being down. It's tough, man. And nowadays when, streaming services and just everything solely dependent on the Wi-Fi, the connection can really be troublesome. And it sucks. I'm hoping that with the Max deal, that in itself helps out, and maybe we're able to stream the shows, the pay-per-views that is, on Max and have a stronger connection there. But I'm not sure where you were watching it. Were you watching it like on Triller TV, Fight TV, YouTube, pay-per-view? It all depends. Depending on where you were watching it, they should be able to offer the replay, or again, I think it's like a 48-hour span as to where you can access it. I know for me, I ordered it on YouTube, and I watched it when it was on YouTube, and then it gives you like a month to watch it. Muhammad says, that's why I wish it was showing and recorded again. Well, I mean, that depends. Like I said, where'd you order it? I'm going to pop up the chat here on the screen, gives a little bit more room and a little bit of activity here in the chat. But like I said, it just all depends on where you were watching the pay-per-view. If it's on YouTube, it's still there. If it's on places like Triller TV and Fight TV, I'm not too sure because I've never watched it through there. But with my history in terms of pay-per-view buys, it would make more sense that it would be accessible for, again, maybe 48 hours, maybe a week. I'm not familiar with that one. OTT, I'm not familiar with that one, so I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Mohammed. I mean, because like I said, I used on YouTube, so is that like a streaming service? Is that like a third party? Like I said, I go through YouTube. I used to go through the Bleacher Report app, but then that, closed down. They no longer do it there. If they go through Max, that will be where I'll be going through and watching the pay-per-views. So I'm sorry, I'm not much help there. I'm sorry about that. But again, regardless of where you watch the pay-per-view, it should give you the option of being able to access it for a limited time, whether it's 48 hours a week. I know traditionally with pay-per-view cable providers, they would offer the replay. You know, if you order the pay-per-view, they'd offer the replay. So the last thing we want you to have to do is have to reorder it, you know, because that would be a shame. YouTube I can do, but I would rather it prefer on my screen, but that's just me. I mean, yeah, but it's like, again, depending on what screen we're talking about, because YouTube, you can able to shoot that to a monitor, watch it on a laptop, watch it on TV if you have a smart TV. I'm not sure what we're working with here. Like I said, my best experiences have came through YouTube. I haven't had a bad experience there when it comes to watching the pay-per-views. Haven't had any buffering or sound issues. Haven't had any problems there. So I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you get that straightened out, though, because it was a solid show. We don't talk much AEW here, but Will Ospreay stole the show. Had 2 great matches against Kyle Fletcher, as well as Okada. Big returns. You said you haven't seen the second half, so I don't really want to spoil anything for you, but hopefully you get that straightened out. If you are just arriving here on the live stream, tonight we're talking about the match of the year. Some of the matches of the year that I think should be in consideration, obviously, were shared on the thumbnail. When you clicked, odds are you probably agree with one of them. One of the options that I thought was a great match, the Hell in a Cell. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. How can you not? It was probably one of the best Hell in a Cell matches in the modern era. I think it's probably top 5 for me. In terms of my favorite Hell in a Cell match, it's just because of the story. It really felt worthy of the Hell in a Cell event. Lately with the WWE, they have been throwing the Hell in a Cell gimmick as if it's a singles matchup. They would come every October. There was a time being there when it was like June. And they were like, well, time for Hell in a Cell. What can we do with it? But with Punk and McIntyre, it really felt like a matchup that warranted the stipulation. And it was even cooler because we had the Bad Blood event return the very same day that the first ever Hell in a Cell had taken place, October 5th, 97, the debut of Kane, where The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels had their 5-star classic. Fast forward, years later, 2024, Punk and McIntyre, they deliver a 5-star classic to cap off what was rivalry of the year. I mean, it was voted by the fans. It was a general consensus. Punk and McIntyre delivered, certainly, when it came to that matchup. Another matchup here, maybe not in terms of Kevin. What's going on, my friend? Welcome to the live stream. Kevin asks, what's your favorite match in terms of drama, run-in, etc.? The question really is that this year or of all time? Because I know my pick. For me, I'm going to go with this year. If you were looking of all time, I can give that 2. But if you ask me, I think the match of the year, Punk and McIntyre. But in terms of my favorite match, in terms of drama, in terms of the run-in, it's a perfect segue because I was just about to get to it. For me personally, WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. I mean, it really felt like Avengers Endgame type of level. Cody Rhodes with the coronation of him finally winning the WWE title, doing what his father, what his brother could not do, getting the run-ins by the Usos, getting the run-ins by The Rock and John Cena, Solo, The Undertaker. It really felt like this huge moment in time to see it all come together, storylines being interwoven with one another, the drama being that, you know, was he going to be able to do it? Roman Reigns has been on top for 4 years and Cody finally does it. I think definitely Cody versus Roman. That was my personal favorite. Muhammad says Punk and Drew McIntyre feud happened thanks to CM Punk's injury that he suffered back at the Rumble earlier this year. This is true. I think eventually they would have gotten to it because when CM Punk had debuted at the Survivor Series, there was a clip of Drew McIntyre irate. He was very pissed off. So I think they were going to get to it, but the injury itself helped expedite the process. And I mean, hey, They were able to take lemons and make lemonade out of it. So awesome. Kevin McIntyre is just fire. Remember when he was considered the chosen one and had a frail, skinnier look? Yes, I do remember back in the fall of 2009. I'll never forget it. He came up with like a teal kind of dress shirt, sports coat, introduced by Mr. McMahon, and he was the chosen one. Soon won the Intercontinental Championship. Again, like you said, a very thin frame and not nothing like what we're accustomed to seeing. So, big upgrade by McIntyre on top of the world, one of the best in the business right now. Kevin says, I heard it was supposed to be Stone Cold instead of Taker on CVV. Love CVV, big fan of his. Taker said the WrestleMania moment gave him closure. Two great takeaways there. Apparently, the rumor was it was supposed to be Austin. Makes perfect sense because Rock and Austin, one of the all-time great feuds, 3 legendary matches at WrestleMania. Plus, what a visual it would have been if it was like John Cena and Stone Cold elevating Cody Rhodes to be the next guy. It would have been fantastic. But apparently there were scheduling issues. Austin wasn't able to make it, so they went with Taker, which I still think works. Taker had a feud with The Rock. He feuded with Yokozuna. He's had rivalries with members of the Bloodline back in the 90s, as well as he's the conscience of the WWE. He's the locker room leader. It's WrestleMania, so it's Taker's show. He comes out kind of to even the odds, and keep order in the WWE. So I'm cool with it too. Austin would have been awesome because to hear the glass break would have been iconic. But again, the Gong, the Undertaker, I can't complain. Muhammad, Cody Rhodes, finishing his story is truly a happy ending, and it will open new doors to others to finish theirs. Couldn't have said it better myself. What a great moment. What a great moment for WrestleMania. And when you have great moments like WrestleMania 10 when Brett won, WrestleMania 20 when Eddie and Benoit shared that moment, WrestleMania 30 when Bryan wins, and now WrestleMania 40 Cody wins. It's the rule of 10. We got to have these great endings, and they really delivered. Big Nef Network, Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth. Solid. That was a great matchup too. It was the precursor. It was the lead-in to the main event. Awesome pick there. I feel like a lot of WrestleMania matches might make it on today's list. KO versus Austin was dumb to me. I mean, hey, it is what it is. It was cool. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love Kevin Owens. I thought that match was cool. It wasn't really much of a match, but was like a brawl in a sense. And Austin looked fine for someone that hadn't wrestled for, almost 20 years at that point, 19 years. So it was cool to me. It is what it is. Muhammad says a fairy tale ending. Yes, Cody Rhodes being able to finish the story and is still the champion. I don't know how many days we're into it, but that was back in April. We're approaching January. He gets past Kevin Owens at the Rumble, which I think he will. We're more likely going to see Cody Rhodes run a year-long title reign, which pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Big Nef Network, Rock showed he still had it. And you know what? That's a crazy thing too, because The Rock, his last matchup was WrestleMania 40, but prior to that would have been WrestleMania 29 when he fought Cena. And that's 11 years in between. I don't count WrestleMania 32, just in case someone's going to try to comment in the chat. I know The Rock fought Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32 for like 6 seconds. He hit a rock bottom. 1, 2, 3. Let's go home. I don't count that. Don't count that at all. 2013 all the way to 2024. And what I think really helped is that they were able to expand the rules. The way the Rock character is currently, he's the final boss. He can make the rules up as he goes. So there was a spot there where he told one of the officials he could do whatever he wants, basically. And I think that fed into The Rock. He didn't have to do the whole traditional matchup. It was able to come to him naturally. So The Rock, great showing there. Big Nef Network, how did KO get that match? LOL, Austin turned everyone down. Isn't that crazy? He could have had a match with anybody. I think the obvious choice was Punk. CM Punk was a big rumor that they wanted to get to happen. Never did. But Kevin Owens was hot at the time. He was one of the best on TV. Helped carry them through the pandemic. And I see a lot of similarities between he and Austin. Austin being able to work with someone as entertaining as Owens is always great, but I also thought maybe it was Austin's last shot. It's in Dallas, home state. Why not take advantage of it against a solid guy like Kevin Owens? What a honor for him though. Super cool for Kevin. Speaking of Kevin, our Kevin here says, I recently watched Yokozuna versus Bret Hart. Incredible match. Yokozuna was deceiving with his speed, very quick on his feet. Yokozuna very much ahead of his time. I mean, like, dude, the size. You think of some of the greatest big men. Obviously, Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, I think are just a couple you can think off the top of your head. But Yokozuna, like Kevin said, very deceptive when it came to his speed. Also, the fact that he wasn't even Japanese. He played this sumo character, this Japanese character, and wasn't even Japanese. I mean, it still boggles my mind. But Yokozuna, Hall of Famer, and one of the earliest members of the Bloodline, former two-time WWE champion. Big shout out to Rooney, aka Yokozuna. Muhammad, did KO get his Stone Cold permission to use the stunner? As I would assume so. Kevin Owens strikes me as one of those guys who's very traditional, wants to honor the past, and the time-honored tradition is you talk to who, has the finisher, and you get their blessing. So I would like to think that, Kevin Owens approached Stone Cold and said, hey, I would love to use the stunner. With your blessing, can I do that? I don't know if it's been confirmed, but Kevin Owens strikes me as that kind of guy who he's going to be asking for permission. He's going to ask for the blessing. Solid. Okay. So when it comes to the match of the year, because we got to get that poll going, I think the Hell in a Cell match for sure has to be an option. I think the main event of WrestleMania 40 between Cody and Roman has to be an option. Other options, we've had the tag team match mentioned, the Rock Roman versus Seth and Cody. I think other matches that could be included, Sami Zayn versus Gunther at WrestleMania, I thought was solid. A women's matchup, what I think was the best women's matchup of the year, was a match that didn't even get any build. It was on a random episode of Monday Night Raw. It was Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. 9 times out of 10, I'm watching Monday Night Raw. I'm locked in. But every now and then I might deviate to my phone, check whatever's on social media, answer some text messages, whatever the case may be. And I remember watching Bianca and Io Sky go at it. And early on, I'm like, well, this is pretty good. Like, this isn't just a random episode of Raw. I put my phone down, and Bianca and Io just show up and show out on a random episode of TV. I think it's the best matchup for the women of the year in a company that has a great roster of women's wrestlers. And it only shows the quality of talent that Bianca and Io possess. So I think that's certainly one that could get some consideration. Kevin throws out AJ Styles versus Cody in their European tour. The crowd was insane. I'm assuming we're talking about Backlash when they went to France. AJ Styles versus Cody. I think it was a great match already on paper. Two of the best that the WWE has. But then you add the crowd aspect to it, and it elevates it. Look no further than WrestleMania 18. Rock and Hogan. All-time classic. All-time classic. Rock and Hogan was supposed to be the Clash of the Titans. But then you take the crowd into consideration and how they responded. Electric, just like Kevin said. The arena was shaking, will always make me tear up. Electric. It was an awesome moment, dude. Like, I get chills thinking about it. You see AJ Styles as he's getting, introduced by the ring announcer. And the camera is moving as they're introducing him. They have the whole chant. Obviously it's in French, but it's something like he's phenomenal. It was fantastic. It set the bar for the year. AJ and Cody, great matchup, but the crowd itself elevates it to another level. A great pick there. Big Neff Network, Rock versus Hogan equals classic. Really is. A clash of styles, a clash of eras. Icon versus icon. I love that matchup. Growing up, that was one of my favorite matches. Still is. But it remains a top pick, but there's other ones that have superseded it. But it's still awesome. Network says Rock feuds trump Austin feuds. I mean, Rock did have some great feuds. Triple H, Hulk Hogan. I mean, Austin technically counts as well. He was in there. Austin's greatest feuds were against McMahon and Rock. So maybe Austin's match quality maybe not follows The Rock, but in terms of significance, Austin's feud with McMahon and The Rock, I mean, they're two of the greatest feuds of all time. But I do think that Rock has more variety when it comes to his. Kevin says Hogan versus Cena. I would have loved to see. Honestly, I would have Hogan going over. I mean, it depends when, right? Their best shot, I think, would have been like between 05 and 07. Because that was when Cena was kind of on the rise. Hogan was having matches with Shawn and Randy. That's probably when that match would have taken place. You say Hogan, I personally would have put over Cena. I think give Hogan's rub to Cena. Yeah, people probably wouldn't have liked it because Super Cena, whatever. But I kind of would have gave it to Cena, personally. Muhammad, speaking of AJ Styles, I miss seeing him on my screen, and I don't know when he will be back. I anticipate he'll be back fairly soon. By the Rumble, I'm thinking. We're going to gear up for WrestleMania. I think AJ Styles is making his return fairly soon. Miss him too. He's phenomenal. I mean, in a word, he's phenomenal. Kevin says, I also recently watched at St. Valentine's Massacre. Big Show had a cool WWE debut. What a spot, right? With the steel cage and being able to throw Stone Cold across the ring against the steel cage, but it breaks open and Austin, the way Austin swings out and just falls to the ground, wins the matchup. Iconic. I also will say the Big Show look when he debuted as Paul White with like the long hair. I mean, like, whoa! I'm so used to seeing him bald, so it's funny seeing him with the long locks. Muhammad says, I hope AJ doesn't get hurt again. His body should give him a chance. The whole AJ thing was like a freak accident, wasn't it? You know, it looked like it was a part of the match. It looked like it was a work, but that wasn't the case. AJ is one of the greatest of all time. We know that the time with him is limited. I don't anticipate him being here for 5 more years. I think we're reaching the last few years with AJ Styles, and hopefully he comes back stronger and just continues doing AJ style things. That spot where Vince is on all fours and mocks Austin using his taunt, iconic. Yeah, that Vince feud is great. Say what you want about Vince, but the Vince feud with Austin, one of the greatest feuds of all time. If you want to talk about in-ring work and match quality, throw that out the window because McMahon is not going to give you that. But just off of entertainment value, just off of iconic moments, Austin versus McMahon, chef's kiss. Every single time these guys met, memorable moment. The Zamboni, the concrete in the Corvette, the hospital visit. When McMahon pissed himself in front of Austin. Like, dude, these guys stayed having iconic moment. There was a time there, like between September and October of '98, where every week there was something. There was like I said, the Zamboni, like everything I just mentioned, the beer truck on the build up to WrestleMania 15. Just great. Kevin asks thoughts on Bobby Lashley and AEW. The Hurt Business was underused. The Hurt Business in the WWE for a time there was one of the coolest things. I mean, they really helped get us through the pandemic. MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and of course Bobby Lashley. Underrated, underused. Bobby Lashley and AEW, they're really presenting him as a star, which I think is cool. We don't really get to see a lot of him in ring. I mean, we've seen him in 2 matches, one on TV and then one against Swerve Strickland. I like Bobby. Huge fan of Bobby. Would have preferred to see him stay in WWE, but hopefully this run in AEW just propels him even further. I think it's still early. I think the jury's still out. You don't want to overuse him and you don't want to show him off too much. You still want to have like that aura around Bobby Lashley. So it's still kind of early for me. It looks like, I don't know what they're doing with him now though, because it looked like they weren't done with Swerve, but Swerve looked like he's going to fight with Ricochet, and Ricochet looked like he was going to feud with the Hurt Syndicate, but it looks like Swerve and Ricochet are going to go off and do their own thing. So I don't know what they're going to do with Bobby. Needs to put him in the main event scene for sure though, because that dude is a star for sure. Big fan. And he don't age. Think about it. I've seen this guy on my TV since like 2005. And he still looks the same. Thoughts on Tony Khan not having any regrets on the Punk and Perry incident situation? He did it because it to help AEW TV renewal deal. So Tony Khan is an interesting character. I personally, I can't say too much, right? Because I don't run a promotion. I'm not a businessman. Maybe a small businessman if you consider this YouTube channel. The whole way that it worked out between Punk and Perry at All In. Isolated incident. You can only take it for what it is. You can control what happens after. So my biggest problem was airing the video of what happened. This was following the Ariel Helwani interview between him and Punk is describing what had occurred at All In to a T. And then Tony Khan, and through the Young Bucks, of course, through their characters, introduces the tape, and it's exactly how Punk described it. What does that do? It doesn't make them look any good. It only puts over Punk because he was telling the truth. He has validated. They supported what he said. And then here's my thing. When they asked about like, oh, do you have any regret or whatever? And then he talks about the renewal deal. So now you're telling me that moment was so instrumental in getting a new deal, the television rights, and perhaps even leading to AEW going to Max. CM Punk is a draw in 2 different companies, basically. CM Punk is doing great work in WWE, and you're saying CM Punk helped you get the deal with Max. Kind of counterproductive if you ask me. You should be putting over guys like Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, the Death Riders. But we're still talking about Punk and AEW. Tony Khan got to let it go. Tony Khan has to move on. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of his approach when it comes to these media scrums either. I know he's trying to promote all this positivity. And that's great. I'm all for it. But don't flat out lie to people. Don't deceive them when they're asking you questions about the online criticism, which is there. You could see it. And kind of ignore it. Yeah, you want to shout out the haters. You want to block out the negativity. I get that. But don't be condescending. Don't patronize people. And also, stop with the Punk stuff, dude. Let it go. They aired that footage. It backfired. Move on. They got to be their own thing. I really want them to succeed. I really do. Because it's so much beneficial. So much more, beneficial for people. For it to work. You have more opportunities for wrestlers to seek employment. You have more source of entertainment for us, the fans. We want them to succeed. But sometimes Tony Khan, dude. Come on. Kevin says, I was super excited when MVP returned back. I was a huge MVP guy. I was not a big MVP guy growing up. But over time, I realized I'm like, this guy gets it. Entertaining, great on the microphone, great character work. So, again, I wasn't a huge fan growing up. But then when you start to mature and you recognize greatness, and it's like, yeah, this MVP guy's really good. And then seeing how he is now in AEW, thriving as the voice, the voice of the Hurt Syndicate. That media scrum at Full Gear, entertaining, bro. Love MVP. Shout out to Mr. Kennedy as well. Another guy growing up where I just wasn't much of a fan. But Mr. Kennedy ahead of his time. It's a shame that he didn't really get the run that I thought he should have. Due to injuries, due to politics. Big shout out to him. Muhammad says, and also Adam Copeland came to open AEW to say, I love this AEW and pro wrestling. Yeah, Adam Copeland had one of those promos where he put over the company. This was, again, during the time that the Punk and the interview had came out. Which, again, I get it. You want to promote positivity. That's super cool. All for it. Adam Copeland's not an AEW guy. He's a WWE guy. Sorry. He'll always be a WWE guy. That's like, for me personally, that's like if I were to see Magic Johnson, he's a Laker, come out and talk for the Celtics, and like Boston Celtics all the way. It's like, you'll always be a Laker guy to me. Now, is it a different sport? Yeah, but it's the quickest analogy I can think of. I'm all for the positivity, but at the same time, don't patronize us, dude. What they should have done is just left it alone. You didn't have to air the footage. You're only proving that Punk is a value of two companies. One that's thriving. Not that AEW isn't. AEW is thriving. They're making money. They're getting good deals. But one that's thriving and one he's not even a part of. MVP has the greatest and best feuds in WWE with Chris Benoit and Matt Hardy. I wouldn't say they're the best feuds. Now, he had one of the better reigns as U.S. champion, running from 07 to 08. I did think his entertainment with Matt Hardy, that was cool. They had their competitions like the shootout, the pizza eating contest. So that was memorable. Really liked that. His matches with Benoit, I remember Judgment Day, WrestleMania 23, of course. They had their matches as well. But his best stuff came from WWE for sure. He ran an Impact, with the Beatdown Clan, which of course was with Bobby Lashley. Those guys are forever intertwined with one another. But MVP is certainly an underrated guy when it comes to the business. Going to go ahead and open up the poll here to the public. Match of the year. What did you guys consider match of the year? I put up Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. Solid in terms of story, in terms of in-ring work. It has everything you need in pro wrestling. When we think about pro wrestling, I think this matchup encompasses it all. The drama, the stakes, the wackiness, the entertainment value. For me, that's solid. Hell in a Cell between Punk and McIntyre, from an in-ring standpoint, I think was probably the best matchup. I think what Punk and McIntyre were able to do over the course of a year, with only 3 matches and one injury that sidelined him for the majority of the year, should be applauded. Great work by Punk, great work by McIntyre, and it helped put McIntyre on another level in terms of mic work, in terms of presentation. Drew McIntyre certainly, I think, is one of the best that WWE had in the last year. Styles versus Rhodes, we talked about it, in-ring classic, but also the crowd. The crowd helped make that match even greater than what it was. From an international standpoint, it's hard to find a better matchup from these international PLEs. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. I wanted to include this matchup so much because it was great as a TV standpoint. It stood out. It wasn't a premium live event. It was a Monday Night Raw. And these two women put on a great matchup and set the standard for the women's division. Imagine having to follow that as a member of the roster. Enough said. Kevin says, Mr. Kennedy, I heard he got heat for power slamming Randy Orton on his back when Randy specifically told him not to slam him on his back before the match. I believe this was around the time that Randy, was it the back or was it the shoulder? He had issues with his shoulder, I know that. But he had heat there, and then he ended up getting an injury. Actually, no, now that I think about it, I think he came back from injury. I think Mr. Kennedy came back from injury, had the matchup that was like the Denver Nuggets versus Lakers tag team matchup where he and Randy were on opposing teams. This is referring to the Power Slam, I believe. And that led to heat and eventually led to him not really doing anything with their company. So, but also, isn't it crazy about the Money in the Bank? I want to take a quick segue here. I'll come back to Muhammad's comment here. How he won the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 23, had this countdown that he was going to cash in for WrestleMania 24, which I thought was a novel idea. I thought it was interesting. It was something new, something different. Sustains an injury that they think Nia's going to have surgery. They take off the briefcase, they give it to Edge, only to come back and say, yeah, he doesn't really need surgery. He's just going to be out for a couple weeks. That's devastating. Like, that's terrible. Never recovered from that. After that, Mr. Kennedy just wasn't the same. I mean, from a character standpoint. Then he was supposed to be like the illegitimate son of Mr. McMahon during the summer of 07. Do you guys remember that? When they were looking for who was Mr. McMahon's son? And instead of Kennedy, it became Hornswoggle. Shout out to Tommy Ball. Muhammad says their match almost got canceled in SummerSlam was when Adam Pearce says that if you put on one another. I must wait. I'm lost here. Their match almost got canceled at SummerSlam was when Adam Pearce says that if you put... Are we referring to the triple threat match at SummerSlam 2023? Kevin says, I loved seeing Hornswoggle. I used to think he was always living under the ring. He had a mystique when he would always appear during matches to help Finlay. Yeah, dude. I mean, to see Hornswoggle's first interactions on the main roster, do you remember? I remember vividly seeing him appear with Finlay during the mixed tag match against the Boogeyman and Little Boogeyman. That was cool. Shout out to Finlay as well. Hornswoggle was a riot. No, I'm referring to this past SummerSlam. This past SummerSlam? For Io and Bianca? Because obviously we know that the women's titles were defended between like Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. We know that Nia Jax had beat Bayley. Is my memory just off? Maybe my memory's just off, dude. Maybe my memory's just off, Muhammad. But yeah, the Boogeyman was a crazy gimmick. Hornswoggle versus Little Boogeyman was hilarious. The Boogeyman gimmick itself was crazy. Oh, okay, that makes more sense, Muhammad. He's talking about, okay, Punk and Drew. And didn't Mr. Kennedy... Okay. Yeah, okay, I see what you... Because I was talking about Bianca and Io for a second there. And then your comment came in, I guess, a little bit delayed. I get you. Mr. Kennedy, also Heat 2 with John Cena, not just with Randy Orton. Yeah, I mean, the injury. The injury that costed Cena a few months. And he would return at the Rumble, 2008. Sorry, I got lost there in the sauce when it came to that comment. But we're back on track. Not that much activity here on a Sunday night stream. I mean, we only have the 2 votes in. One for Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, the other being the Hell in a Cell match, which I think those 2 are the perennial favorites. Those 2 should be considered the top 2 when it comes to the match of the year. Paul London got heat after getting eliminated by Snitsky. Is it because of the flip? Because he did that one rotation, the SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble 2005, where Snitsky goes for a clothesline, London ducks, he goes for the other clothesline, and then London does like this almost a shooting star press to the floor. That's stupid. I'm gonna tell you right now. Like that should not have happened. Not because like it's stupid. Like oh like it's just crazy. It's ridiculous. What a spot. But didn't Paul London also get heat when it was the moment that McMahon was gonna get into the limo and have it explode, and he's walking to the back, and the roster is just in the hallways, and you see Paul London, this big like smile, this big grin, and he got heat for that too. So Paul London was a little heat magnet there. Muhammad says wrestling is a very touchy business. It's all politics, man. It's politics. People want to get over. People want to have a better spot than others. They want to be able to put themselves in a position of, I guess, either power or popularity. So if you're messing with people's push, again, look at Cena and Orton. Those were two of the top guys. So for a guy like Mr. Kennedy to, unintentionally get them injured, you're going to build a reputation. You see what happened with Sean O'Hare. Sean O'Hare is a sad story, though. Because Sean O'Hare, for sure, could have been a player when it came to, the WWE. Had all the potential in the world. It's a shame what happened with Sean O'Hare and just not being able to get utilized better. And, of course, the sad ending with Sean O'Hare. That's the dark side of wrestling, the reality of it all. We got 4 votes are in. 5 votes are in with WrestleMania 40 being the leader in the poll here. No votes so far for Backlash or WWE Raw. Make sure you guys get your votes in now. Not much time left. We have about maybe 12, 13 minutes left for the poll. Sylvia, what's going on? Oh, so mad at myself. I missed the beginning of tonight's live. All we were really talking about is just what were some matches in consideration for match of the year. We were able to settle on these 4 here on the screen. I realize on my screen, I don't think it gives you the options of seeing the percentage. So I kind of check in every now and then. But you guys are able to see that on your screen on the percentages. All we really talked about was, again, building up which matches should be in consideration. We talked a little bit about the past. We talked about, Rock versus Hogan, Hornswoggle, Boogeyman, a lot of crazy stuff. We talked about AEW for a little bit as well. And their persistence on having CM Punk being one of their top stars, even though he hasn't been with the company in, a year and a half. So we did miss you. We didn't see you there in the chat early on, but hey, you made it now, which is awesome. We appreciate you stopping by, of course. Always welcomed here on the live. Kevin asks, Jose, is there anyone you would like to hold this upcoming year's Money in the Bank? That's a good question. I think... Hear me out here. Maybe it's early. Maybe this is really early. But they've shown that the Money in the Bank briefcase can be utilized on the mid-card titles. So like the Intercontinental and the United States Championship. I don't necessarily agree with it. I feel like if you're going to cash in, you should do it on a main title, like the World or WWE title. With that being said, because they've introduced the concept of using it on a mid-card title, maybe not this year, but I kind of want to see Dominic win the Money in the Bank. I think it would fit so well with his character. Obviously, he has the nickname of Latino Cheat now. He has the t-shirt. I think him with the Money in the Bank briefcase would be so funny. Also because the way they present his character, at least right now, you're not going to think he's going to beat a guy like Gunther. He's had matches with Gunther where I was kind of rooting for him. But for him to be in serious consideration, I think he needs like the Money in the Bank briefcase. So Dominic for sure, I would love to see with it. Jey Uso would be cool, but I like heels with the briefcase. Jey Uso or Dominic. Those are probably my answers for the men. For the women, for the women, I think Naomi would be cool. I would like to see Naomi. Jade, whenever she gets her singles run as a heel, I think would be cool. Those are the ones that really come to my mind first. But for the men, for sure, Dominic or Jey Uso. You have to thank Chris Jericho for inventing and creating Money in the Bank. Big shout out to Jericho. He did help invent it. What a concept, right? And to think that it took that long for something like that to be created. I mean, and I think it's one of the best gimmicks out there. Yes, it's technically a ladder match, and ladder matches are not foreign. But the idea, the concept of having a contract whenever you want for a championship opportunity, that's awesome. It's genius. And I think originally it was supposed, because it was in WrestleMania 21, it was Hollywood. The original idea was like some kind of like Hollywood Dreams matchup where you get a wish. So in 2005, WrestleMania 21, Rob Van Dam would have won the match. Now he won at WrestleMania 22, but a year prior at WrestleMania 21, the story goes that Rob Van Dam was supposed to win the Money in the Bank match, and his wish would be to bring back ECW, which would have been the One Night Stand pay-per-view in June. But Rob Van Dam got injured in January, got sidelined for a year, scrapped that. So that's how the story goes. I thought that was super cool. Kevin agrees. Dom with the case would be fire. I think it'd be super cool. And imagine like the customization he could do with it. I'm loving this Fatu versus Braun Strowman. Fatu would be an interesting one as well. Can you imagine a big guy like Jacob Fatu with it? We saw Strowman held it for a while. Brock also held it as well. Jacob Fatu with the briefcase would be terrifying. Kevin says, I thought it was Edge. No, Edge just won it. Edge won the original Money in the Bank. He's probably one of the more recognizable names with Money in the Bank, but the creator of it was Jericho. Jericho helped create that. And he never won it. Like the Royal Rumble. Never won the Rumble either. He should have won the Rumble in 2012, I think. Muhammad says, Money in the Bank as a pay-per-view or Money in the Bank as in WrestleMania? Are you asking for like what I prefer? I would prefer Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. I think it's a cool concept to get a bunch of people on the card. And yes, I would prefer it at WrestleMania. Because WrestleMania, you want to have guys on the card. You want to add some excitement. A ladder match is usually the best way to do it. I prefer it on WrestleMania. It was a cool way to fit many people on the card. Kind of like an all-star match. And it was just a nice showcase for the superstars. I'm not mad that they have the show now, the pay-per-view, because you have one for the men and women. I think it works out fine. I personally wouldn't change it back. Keep it the way it is. Keep it the way it is. But I think WrestleMania was pretty cool. Ideally. And now it's one of the big five, technically. The Rumble, WrestleMania, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. WrestleMania 24 was the best one. 24 was a cool one. Punk wins. The look of it all was great. Obviously, I think there was like Punk, Jericho, Carlito, Morrison, MVP was there too. It's a shame that Jeff Hardy wasn't in it. Yeah, was that when I think Jeff got suspended, didn't he? And he was supposed to win the matchup, I believe, at WrestleMania 24. That is a shame. I think, for me, I always go back to the first one, WrestleMania 21. I think that's my favorite. Really hard to pick against it. There are other great ones, for sure. But the first one's my favorite. Earlier today, I rewatched Shane's injury at WrestleMania, where Snoop Dogg came in to save the day. Wasn't that crazy? Shane McMahon, like out of nowhere, springs to action. Good on him, by the way. Or excuse me, Snoop Dogg springs to action following that injury. It was kind of sad, though, wasn't it? It was sad. Do you agree with WrestleMania being 2 nights? Yeah, I think so. It's gotten bigger and bigger. It's such a huge event because you also have to remember prior to them being 2 nights, WrestleMania 35 was the last Mania to just be one night, and it was like a 7 hour show, dude. 7 hours is a long time. So I like the concept of 2 nights. It stretches it out. It really treats it like a big event, a big weekend, because you get SmackDown, the Hall of Fame, back-to-back WrestleManias. Then there's Raw, which is typically the Raw after Mania, which is a big show. So I like the idea of stretching it out. Plus, you give more opportunities to other wrestlers to have great matches. The crowd doesn't get tired. And also, from a business standpoint, it makes sense because you're doubling the tickets. So I prefer the 2 night. But that doesn't mean everything should be 2 nights. The Royal Rumble doesn't need to be 2 nights. Money in the Bank doesn't need to be 2 nights. I'm already hesitant as it is with SummerSlam being 2 nights. But I don't want them to be, excessive with it. WrestleMania and SummerSlam, stop it there. Stop it there. Shane McMahon potential AEW debut. I mean, hey, he took a picture with the Young Bucks, so there's some kind of a conversation there. Will it ever happen? Maybe. I wouldn't hold my breath. I think Shane's, for better or for worse, done with wrestling, at least for the immediate future. But I wouldn't count against it. And the saying goes in wrestling, never say never. I heard Jeff Hardy recently say in an interview that he would love to retire in WWE and have CM Punk as his final match. I did see that. He said that he would love to enter the Hall of Fame, but not before retiring Punk. I don't know about that, but I would love to see them revisit Punk and Hardy, because that feud in 2009, loved it. It was a great heel turn for Punk. I thought him and Jeff were so great in terms of polar opposites, where Jeff Hardy is like this free spirit, and we obviously know his issues with alcohol and whatnot. We won't dive too much into that out of respect for him. So it just made sense for Punk and Hardy to go at it. I do think that he and Matt need to retire in WWE. Just makes the most sense. Definitely Hall of Famers for sure. But I would love to see him and Punk go at it again. What's your favorite WrestleMania stage? As in the way it looks, overall appearance. You should make a video about your favorite stages. If we're gonna go WrestleMania stages, I think that's a great idea for a video. Maybe when we get closer to Mania, and we'll do a lot more like ranking videos. I'm thinking about doing more ranking videos for sure. But we're working out the kinks because, like I said, we're still working on memberships, and I want to be able to give out exclusive content there. So I think it's a great idea though. In terms of my favorite stages, WrestleMania 24 is really good. I love the resort look, for sure. WrestleMania 26, I think is super cool. I'm also biased because I was there. WrestleMania 33 with like the kind of like a theme park look, I thought was super cool. Those three are the ones that really stick out in my mind off of like first thoughts. Aside from that, 39 was pretty sick. 39 was like the best one for a while. Because 38 I thought was bland. 37 was cool. 36 obviously was empty arena. 35 was just a big LED screen. I hated 35. I thought it was dumb. So if I had to land on one, probably 24. Because it just felt big. Like it looked like a huge resort, and then the pyro, and then also with the lighting, like the sky, like WrestleMania 24 for sure. WrestleMania 39 I'll put as like number 2, and then WrestleMania 33 at third. I love 26, but I'm biased towards it, and I think it's very similar to 24. So at number 1, 24, at number 2, 39, and at number 3, 33. That's how I would do it. But the video about stages ideas is awesome. I wish they would do that again. Give it more of a feel. It makes sense business-wise because you're kind of saving money, I guess. I get it. But I wish they would do unique stages again. Hopefully with this Raw and Netflix deal, we get a new stage for that. Something different from SmackDown. They can keep the SmackDown one, that's fine. But give me something different. Muhammad, I do too. CM Punk just wanted to show how to be safe and responsible with drugs and alcohol. Yeah. Was he wrong? He technically wasn't wrong. Maybe the way he was going about it was wrong. But he makes a good argument and handles it the right way. 100%. I loved that feud between Punk and Jeff Hardy. And then when CM Punk and Hardy had their steel cage match on SmackDown, and it was like, I think it was either loser leaves WWE, or if Hardy loses, he leaves WWE. But regardless, Hardy loses, so he's forced out. And I'm like, man, I'm thinking it's like typical wrestling. Okay, he's going to be gone and he'll come back, a couple months or whatever. But then he debuts in TNA in January of 2010. And I'm like, damn, well, we're not going to see Jeff for a minute. So that was cool. Jeff Hardy is very similar to Scott Hall. If we're talking like the substance abuse, it's sad. It is sad. Hopefully he doesn't have a similar ending though. Scott Hall, man. Underrated. Razor Ramon, I think, is one of the greatest gimmicks that the WWE had in the 90s. Certainly helped him in the New Generation era. And it's a funny thing you mentioned Scott Hall. That's a big a hint for tomorrow's J Area Wrestling Podcast episode. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Obviously, we talk about a lot of the current events in pro wrestling. There is a ladder match happening at Royal Rumble between Cody and Kevin. And I wanted to take a trip down memory lane. So for the people that are in the chat right now, you guys are getting an exclusive. Tomorrow's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about the first ever televised ladder match for the WWE, WrestleMania 10. Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. So, want to do something different. We do a lot of like current stuff. I kind of want to incorporate some stuff from the past, almost like a history lesson, if you will, and just reminisce about some of the past. So, big exclusive for you guys in the chat. Shawn versus Razor, WrestleMania 10 will be the talking point about in tomorrow's podcast. I actually just got done filming that episode, so if you see me wearing something similar, that's why. If anything, you can't see because of subscribe, but HBK, gotta represent. Just finished editing that, so that'll be ready to go tomorrow, Monday afternoon. Jeff Hardy chose not to resign with the WWE. That's why they did the steel cage, in order to write him off. Yeah, because wasn't it like maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I think it was like because they wanted him to go to rehab or something. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But you are correct in that he didn't want to resign, so he left the company. Went with TNA. I remember that. Had the huge debut too, because it was like the January 4th, 2010 episode of TNA when they went head to head with Monday Night Raw for the first time. And he debuted in the opening matchup where TNA had like the Asylum match, the big red cage, and Hardy made his debut. I'll never forget that. That was a huge deal when TNA and WWE went head to head. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels did bury the hatchet in Monday Night Wars. The same night. It was the same night, January 4th, 2010. And this was the on-screen hatchet burial Shawn and Bret made up on TV. I'm assuming they did beforehand. We don't know exactly when or when the timing was. But yeah, the same night Jeff returned on TNA was the same night that Bret and Shawn had their on-screen reconciliation on Monday Night Raw. A great rivalry. My favorite rivalry of all time was Bret and Shawn. Because it was real, damn it. Like, these guys wanted to be the best. Montreal, WrestleMania 12. Solid matchups early on, like at Survivor Series 92. In fact, I talked about that WWE's first ever ladder match on TV, Shawn and Razor. But in fact, the first ever ladder match, like a trial run, Bret and Shawn. Look at Muhammad bringing out all the trivia here. Right on. Right on. That's how we know you know what you're talking about. 23 votes are in, and 70% are going WrestleMania 40. Hell in a Cell got 30%, and the other two, 0%. Heavily favored for those two. Muhammad asks, didn't Jeff Hardy face similar issues again in 2021? And Johnny Ace called Jeff Hardy, and he shut it down. Yeah. Yeah, he walked out, if you remember, during like a live event. Jeff Hardy, during a matchup, straight up just walked out. And then obviously he got his release, and then soon after, 90-day clause, debuted in AEW, and now he's in TNA. But yeah, a similar thing happened in was it 2021 or 2022? It was one of those. But yeah, similar thing happened. And that's the sad thing about Jeff. We want Jeff to be okay. We want him to be healthy. We want him to succeed. But it's like every so often he just goes through these little spells where, you know, his demons get the best of him, and we wish him the best. But, you know, I think we all can agree we were fans of Jeff growing up. Still are. You know, he's a current reigning and defending tag champion with his brother Matt. But that Jeff Hardy run from like 08 to 09, like he was on top of the world. He was the top babyface, you could argue. Like we know Cena was the top guy, but Cena was getting like mixed reviews. He was getting booed and cheered. Everyone loved Jeff. WWE wanted him to rehab, and Jeff refused. That's how he let go. Yeah. I think that's the one I got mixed up because I said 2009. I think that's the one that I was thinking of, was the 2021-22 one. They wanted him to go to rehab, and he didn't want to. But that's the toughest part, right? Is recognizing that you have problems and that you gotta, you know, face them head on. So we here at the J area wish him nothing but the best. We love Jeff Hardy, dude. Like he was moveset, charisma. Like Jeff Hardy was cool. Still is cool. 24 votes are in. 67% are in favor for Rhodes and Reigns. We're going to leave that up for a couple more minutes here. Let you guys sneak in a couple more votes to see if Bad Blood can gain a little bit of traction here, gain a little bit of momentum, and possibly the vote. WWE do take their drugs very seriously. Now they do. Sanford 5, what's going on? He says, what I miss. Just talking wrestling. You already know the deal, buddy. We got our match of the year pull up. As you can see on your side, obviously on the screen, it's not really updated. Just showing you the options. But you can see on your end, place your vote. We talked about AEW for a little bit there. And how they had CM Punk on TV for the footage. So that was something. That was quite a choice. Another rant about Tony Khan for a little bit there. Nothing too serious. We're talking about Jeff Hardy and his personal demons. I don't know how we got there, but we're here. Gabs, what's going on? Growing up, my twin brother wanted to dress me up as Matt as he wanted to be Jeff. I can relate to that. San Fran 5 and I growing up were the Hardys. He was always Jeff and I was always Matt, obviously because Matt was the older one. Totally can relate to that. What were your thoughts on that though? Because you're making it sound like that growing up my twin brother wanted to dress you up. So were you in on it? Or like were you against it? For my brother and I, we were big Hardy Boy fans. Still are. I would like to think I am. Gabs wanted to be Jeff. I feel like everybody wanted to be Jeff. That's the toughest thing, man, when it comes to tag teams. Everyone wants to be Jeff. Sanford 5 says, not sure we wanted to dress up as the Headbangers Cap. Yeah, everyone wanted to be Jeff. My brother wanted to be Jeff. Low key, I wanted to be Jeff, but I got it. I was like, you know what? You be Jeff. Matt Hardy needs some love. Because around this time, Matt Hardy, it was like right around the ECW championship reign. I like Matt. I loved Matt Hardy when he had the version 1 gimmick. You know, you had the little factoids where it was like, oh, Matt Hardy likes mustard or whatever. Like the Matt Hardy version 1 stuff was great. But I totally get that. I wanted to be Jeff. Everyone wanted to be Jeff, dude. The Hardy Boys, though, legends, Hall of Famers, certainly will go into Hall of Fame once they're all said and done. Appreciate the turnout here on a Sunday night. It was a slow start here, on the stream. We didn't have as much participation early on, but we're getting going. So I appreciate you guys stopping by and talking pro wrestling with us. For those of us joining us live that might be new to the channel, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. Big fan of professional wrestling here. This is a channel for wrestling fans by a wrestling fan. We're doing more live streams often. We have the J Area Wrestling Podcast every Monday, the Friday 5 counts, where I share my top 5 favorites on whatever topic it really is. We have live streams Monday night, Friday night, as well as the occasional Wednesday. We're still working out there and working out a schedule. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, like the video, be a part of the family, be a part of the team. We'd love to have you in. Sanford 5 says, Broken Matt was cool back in TNA. When it was new, right? When Broken Matt was new, it was awesome. Like, it was so cool. The Broken Matt universe was like a breath of fresh air for Matt Hardy. Matt Muhammad says, I wanted to be Matt, but I wanted to be Jeff more. And it is a shame Matt turned on Jeff at Royal Rumble 09. What a great turn, though. What a great turn. Maybe the matches didn't live up to it, but the Matt versus Jeff stuff, it was okay. I'm not going to pretend like it was great, but I liked it. I was a fan of it. Gab says, guys, check your notifications. I know I didn't get one tonight. They're weird, because I know with me, I turn on the notifications for, certain channels, and I don't get them a lot either. So I don't know if it's if that's on my end or not, but there are some times where, I'm not getting the notifications either. That's why I try to upload the live itself earlier in the day, so you guys see, like, okay, Jose will be live 9 o'clock or whatever time it is. I try to do that earlier, so like you guys are checking YouTube or whatever, and you kind of see, okay, sorry that you missed though early on about the notifications. Still working it out. Hopefully next time we'll be able to get that going. Muhammad says Matt Hardy has lost his popularity at a time. Yeah, well, it comes and goes, right, in pro wrestling. You're over in one moment, and then before you know it, you're not over anymore. But Matt Hardy, as the Broken gimmick, was super entertaining. I mean, the Broken Universe, the Senor Benjamin, and his Queen Rebecca, and his kids, and just that Matt Hardy had a renaissance era with it, especially during the cinematic matches. That Matt Hardy run was great. I'll always be a Matt Hardy fan when he was like the version 1 gimmick, but the Broken Universe stuff was so cool. Muhammad says it's like Batista's run in 2014. I don't know about that. Batista's run in 2014 was totally derailed. Like, fans just took over because of Daniel Bryan, which love Daniel Bryan, huge fan of Bryan. But that Batista run, oh man, it sucks for him. He just wanted one last run, and again, I think we all can agree Batista in his prime was super cool. But that run in 2014, I mean, he won the Royal Rumble, and immediately people poo-pooed on it day one, flipping him off, booing him because we wanted Bryan. Then he had a match with Del Rio at Elimination Chamber that nobody really cared for. And at WrestleMania 30, he's in the matchup for the triple threat match, and people are afraid that he's going to win. He didn't. But what I think helped was the Evolution team up between he, Randy, and Triple H. That, for me, was huge. I loved seeing Evolution. And I was there for the tail end of the original run. So to see them run it back while they're all like these mega stars against the Shield, that was awesome. So I actually liked the second half of the Batista in 2014 run. Sanford 5 says Matt Hardy's run versus Edge was crazy looking back, to bring a shoot on TV and trying to make it into a work. one of the greatest feuds, in my opinion, because it was real. The Matt Hardy versus Edge stuff with the Lita storyline. It was on. It was at Summer. I was gonna say WrestleMania. It was at SummerSlam 2005 that they did that. I know that because I bought the pay-per-view. It was the first pay-per-view I ever bought as a fan. I remember this very well. It was like back when we had like cable, and you had to go through your cable provider, and go through the pay-per-view channels and select what pay-per-view you wanted to watch. And I bought the pay-per-view again, just willy-nilly. And I remember telling my parents like, I think I bought the pay-per-view for SummerSlam, and they were so cool about it. My dad, I'll never forget, was like, okay, like, you want to buy pizza that day? And I was like, wow, but I was so invested because that SummerSlam pay-per-view had Shawn versus Hogan. Hated Hogan. I was a big Shawn guy. Clearly. It was Eddie versus Ray for the ladder match. Edge versus Matt, a real life feud. And then you had Cena and Batista were defending their titles. How was I not going to buy the pay-per-view? So that was really cool of him and my mom to say, well, I mean, you bought the pay-per-view, let's buy pizza. It's like, man, come on. Can't beat that. But yeah, the Edge and Matt Hardy stuff. Very vivid memories about Matt Hardy screaming at Edge. And he was talking about like how it's either kill or be killed, Adam, and Matt Hardy will not die. That sticks with my mind so vividly. It's one of the best. I think it's one of the best storylines. Some people kind of disagree because of the way it ended. I mean, they didn't really have a great match at SummerSlam. But that build-up between those two, man, super exciting. We're going to go ahead and close off the poll here. The final tally for Match of the Year. Io Sky and Bianca Belair, episode of Monday Night Raw in the fall, 0%. Styles and Rhodes at Backlash, 0%. Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood, 36%. But your winner, you guys voted for WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes finishes his story, defeating Roman Reigns. Match of the Year. You guys voted it. I love it. It's my personal favorite. I think from an objective standpoint, the Hell in a Cell match I think is the best match. But if we're just going overall, the match, the players involved, and the story, WrestleMania 40. Awesome pick there, guys. Awesome pick. Before we jump into another topic here, a little bit of housekeeping that I want to keep up to date with you guys. Looking at like I want to incorporate more live streams. These last few live streams we've been doing great. We've had these live streams talking about the J Area Awards, handing out Match of the Year, Female Wrestler of the Year, Breakout Star of the Year. We have one more award left. That's going to be Male Superstar of the Year. We're going to do that coinciding with Monday Night Raw's recap tomorrow. So Monday Night Raw's live stream, 11 o'clock, 11:15 on the West Coast. We're going to be doing the recap and Men's Wrestler of the Year for WWE. Following that, again, for those people in the chat, you're getting an exclusive. You guys are taking the time out of your day to join us here talking about pro wrestling. So I'm going to reward you by giving you an inside look. We're going to be doing more live streams, for example, like on Wednesdays, where I'm thinking about doing kind of interactive stuff. So we're talking maybe quizzes, tier rankings, lists, something that you guys can take part in. We're going to have them more often. I want to be more inclusive with you guys, give you guys a voice, and give you guys something more to look forward to. Make sure, like Gabs said, turn on your notifications. That way you stay up to date when we're going to go live. I try to upload these videos ahead of time so you can see that I have a scheduled live stream later in the day. I'm going to try to get better at doing more community posts. I know I talk about them. I haven't done them in a minute here. I'm going to try to do them more often. So Wednesdays, we're looking at doing more like reaction videos, lives, tier ranking lives, listing lives, more lives. Obviously, in terms of the other listings on the videos, Mondays we have the J Area podcast. We also have the live stream following Monday Night Raw. Wednesdays we're gonna have clips, and also the live streams like I talked about, where it's gonna be like a variety. Friday 5 counts, Saturday reaction videos, and so on and so forth. We have big news, obviously, in 2025. Still working towards the memberships, giving you guys more exclusive content, and giving you guys more of a say on what we're going to be producing here on the channel. So stay tuned for that as well. Sanford 5 says, we all know the greatest match of all time is the Kennel from Hell match. Who remembers that? Comment in the chat below if you remember the Kennel from Hell match from Unforgiven 99, when Al Snow was fighting for the honor of Pepper, his dog, against the Big Boss Man. One of the worst matches, maybe, but certainly one of the more infamous storylines of all time. The Kennel from Hell. Only been done once, and thankfully, I think that's going to be the only time we ever see it. Shout out to Sanford 5 with the deep cut. Sanford 5 also says, or the APA bar fight that took place at Vengeance 2003. I would take that over the Kennel from Hell match. At least that was entertaining. I mean, the Easter Bunny and Brother Love were involved in that bar fight. So, again, shout out to Sanford 5 with the deep cut. Great point there. But yeah, 2025 is looking to be a big year. We're going to be doing more exclusive content. I want to give you guys more information on that, but I don't want to put the carriage in front of the horse just yet. We got to wait for that to be, confirmed and everything set up. Once memberships are up and going, it's going to be open to the public. More exclusive content, more giving you guys a voice about what we're going to be doing with the channel. So look forward to it. Again, shout out to Gabs as well for talking about the notifications. Make sure you guys put on your notifications. That way you stay up to date with all the videos that are being produced earlier in the day, as well as the live streams that we do on occasion. So make sure you guys stick up with that. Sanford 5 says, I lied. It's the gimmick battle royal from WrestleMania 17. Rest in peace, Iron Sheik. They should do that again. Is it just me? I feel like they should redo the gimmick battle royal because the 2000s had quite a list of gimmicks. I mean, just off the top of my head, the Boogeyman, Eugene, Paul Burchill, Kevin Thorne, they could easily redo the gimmick battle royal in a present day. And I'd be kind of all for it. Comment down in the chat below, what were some of your crazy gimmicks in WWE, at whether it was back in the 80s or whatever era? What are some of the craziest gimmicks that you guys kind of had like a guilty pleasure, a little closeted fan about? Sanford 5 says they should do it every 10 years, like WrestleMania 50 or 60 and so on. Maybe 15. I think 10 might be too, often. But WrestleMania 50 would be a good spot to do it. Muhammad says, yes, Matt Hardy will not die, and there is no reign in me. What a segue there, huh? We talked about the bar fight. We talked about the battle royal, the Kennel from Hell. Like I said, a slow start to the stream, but if you guys are joining us here, we talked about the match of the year. You can see below and also here on the screen, or this side, I guess, mirrored. You guys voted WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns match of the year. It certainly was, I think, one of the best matches. I think it might go up there as one of the best main events in WrestleMania history. Maybe that's recency bias, but knowing the whole Cody Rhodes story, Roman Reigns and his 4-year title reign, seeing everybody that came out during that matchup, it's like a love letter to wrestling. I find it very difficult for any wrestling fan, whether new, old, young, whatever, to watch that match and not feel a type of way. That matchup, man. I still think WrestleMania 25, Undertaker and Shawn, might be the best match I've ever seen. But in terms of how I felt, in terms of the way a match made me feel, Reigns versus Rhodes was on another level, dude. Absolutely loved it. We're going to be on live here for just a few more minutes, maybe about 5 minutes. Sanfran5 says, thoughts on Shawn versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. Oh man, that's one of my favorite matches too. Shawn versus Angle. That's my favorite Kurt Angle match, by the way. Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. Watching that match, dude, and like that was the first wrestling DVD I bought growing up, and I was mesmerized by this matchup, and it still holds up. We recently watched it for the first time in a while, a few months ago, and just Shawn versus Kurt, masters at their craft, and the final spot where Kurt Angle puts the ankle lock on Shawn Michaels, and the crowd is elevating, and the anticipation is growing because it's like, is he gonna tap? Is he gonna tap? And he tries to, roll off and kick Kurt Angle off of the ankle lock. He can't do it. Rolls off again, tries to kick Kurt Angle off again, still can't do it. And Kurt Angle has the ankle lock in position. He's not gonna move, and then he locks his legs around Shawn Michaels and falls to the ground. So he's immobile. Shawn can't move, and then Shawn is reaching out for the ring ropes, trying to break it with the ring break and the rope break rather, and he can't reach it, and he's picking up his hand, he's wanting to tap, he puts it down, he's fighting off the urge to tap out. You see him get closer to the rope, and just when you thought he had it, he taps out. And it's just the drama, the emotion. It's such a fantastic matchup. I think it's one of the best matches I've ever seen. I put it up there with WrestleMania 25. I put it up there with Halloween Havoc, between Mysterio and Guerrero. Just talking about it just gets me going. That's another one of those matches where it's like, if I want to feel something in terms of wrestling, putting that on. If I want to show someone like, hey, wrestling's pretty cool, putting it on. Love that matchup. Never gets old. Never gets old. Big shout to Sanfran5 for that deep cut of a matchup. It was certainly match of the year in my book for WWE. I can't think of a better matchup than that. 2005 was a golden year for us growing up. Maybe not in the sense of WWE and business, but in terms of like our fandom, 2005 was a very important year in shaping how devoted wrestling fans we became. And I mean, in large part to guys like Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. Big shout out. Heartbreak Kid. Again, for those in the chat, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. We are a professional wrestling channel here. We talk pro wrestling. It's a channel for wrestling fans by a wrestling fan. And we're doing live streams. Obviously, today we did match of the year. We talked about Shawn Michaels. For those that are in the chat and joining us in the live stream, we get an exclusive look here. Tomorrow, the episode of the J Area Wrestling Podcast will be centered around the original ladder match at WrestleMania 10 between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. That, of course, is as a way to pay homage and respect to the ladder match itself, because we are getting a ladder match at the Royal Rumble event. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for basically 2 titles, which sounds a lot similar to WrestleMania 10. So you guys are going to be able to see that. We also have in store another live stream following Monday Night Raw. Make sure you're there for that. We'll talk about the final Monday Night Raw before moving to Netflix. We'll also talk about who was the male wrestler of the year during that same live stream tomorrow, 11:15 on the West Coast. 11:15 p.m. on the West Coast. Wednesday, you can look forward to another live stream. We'll see what we have, planned. I'll make sure to update you guys there. Make sure you have your notifications on so you're aware when we go live. And then Friday 5 count, as well as another live stream following SmackDown, 11:15. Or rather, I think SmackDown's going 3 hours, actually, now that I think about it. So I have to look at the listings and see when that show is going to end here on the West Coast. Otherwise, keep updated. Keep up to date with that. Saturday's reactions video. If you haven't seen the reaction video on Saturday, so yesterday's reaction, make sure you guys go out of your way and look it up. It was a fun process. It was a fun deal. Got to react to a little bit of indie wrestling, some hardcore wrestling. It was clips from TNA, Ring of Honor, CZW, MLW. So go ahead and check out that reaction video. If you like the reaction, give it a thumbs up. That way we know that, hey, this is something you guys want to see, and we'll continue to move forward with it. Also, it helps YouTube and the algorithm in pushing out our content and building a bigger community for all pro wrestling fans to enjoy. So big deal on that. But I can't thank you guys enough for the support. And we're going to go ahead and end the live stream here. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Unless if anybody wants to drop a last second comment or question in the chat, we're going to give you guys a minute there. But otherwise, want to thank you guys again for joining me on this live stream. Appreciate you guys continuing to show up and show out when it comes to talking wrestling. It's a big passion of mine. It's a big passion of all of ours. If you're here in the chat, if you're joining the live streams, then I already know you guys are invested as I am. And I appreciate the constant support. Without you guys, it's not possible. And I know I might sound like a broken record when I say that, but it's because I genuinely feel that. Would not be possible without you guys, without the love and support. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys for tomorrow's stream. We're going to be doing that 11:15 West Coast time at night, of course, following Monday Night Raw. Hope you guys enjoy our analysis of WrestleMania 10's ladder match. For the podcast, make sure you check that out. Check out the live stream. Keep your notifications on. Of course, with that being said, like my brother Sanfran5 says, good stream. Great seeing you all. With that being said, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. Always and forever saying to stay cool.